Well, when people in Washington say they're lowering taxes, hold on to your wallet.
All eyes on the Veep stakes, as a pick could come as early as this week.
One day it's Condi Rice, one day it's someone else.
These campaigns have perfected the art of confusion.
Mitt Romney has used every trick in the book.
Also today, the latest on the ad war in the swing states. And an inside look at the real Book of Mormon.
Yeah, we dance all up on the stage. It's such a fun part.
I'm Michael Shear for the New York Times, and I'm joined now by Ashley Parker in Washington to talk about the latest on the vice presidential process. So Ashley, we're all on edge waiting to find out. Any sense when we'll have a name?
Yeah, you know, people close to Mitt Romney have told us that the decision could come as early as this week, or then he's leaving for a foreign trip. So if it doesn't come sort of this week, and probably the earlier, the more likely, then it could come as soon as he gets back, which is the first week of August.
You had this great story that posted on our website today. It talked about a lot of the details, what the campaign has been doing to kind of vet all of the different possibilities on their short list. Talk about some of the things that the campaign is having the contenders do, filling out questionnaires, and how secretive are they about all of this stuff?
Well, for starters, the Romney campaign has, been disciplined from the get-go, and the VP search is sort of more secretive than anything else they've done so far. So they keep some of the, essential documents, real estate records and financial investments actually in a secure vault in their Boston headquarters. So that's how secretive they're being. To tell you a little bit about the process, they're having the candidates fill out a roughly 80-question questionnaire. They cover sort of all sorts of topics and includes questions like, have you ever been unfaithful? And the campaign itself is sort of pouring through video footage. They're watching town halls and Sunday show appearances and, looking for everything from actual answers to how these potential VPs handle getting interrupted or, even hecklers at an event.
I guess if the question of have you been unfaithful or not wasn't on previous ones, people in wake of John Edwards and all of that probably make sure they have it on there.
Yeah, I think that's sort of become vetting 101 in the wake of some things that have come out. So yeah, pretty standard question actually, but still probably, an uncomfortable one for some people to answer.
So who's on the short list and who's lobbying for maybe other people that aren't on the short list to be on it?
So the short list now, as we're hearing it, sort of at the top of that list is Tim Pawlenty and Senator Rob Portman. Governor Jindal and Paul Ryan are sort of dark horses. They're also on the list. And the Romney campaign sort of floated the idea of Condoleezza Rice. And we've heard that Ann Romney actually sort of really likes her and respects her. So that's sort of the short list. Now, the lobbying actually is interesting. Of course, all these donors and supporters have their own opinions, and they've really been pushing for. One person is Marco Rubio. They think he would be sort of an exciting surprise pick, and you've had people like Karl Rove and Senator Mitch McConnell all pushing for him.
Do you think, though, I mean, it sort of feels like no matter who's on the list or who's pushing or who's lobbying, it all comes down to, how Romney actually feels about that person, whether he has a personal connection or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Romney has said from the beginning that, his first criteria is someone who is prepared to be president on election day, on day one. He also wants someone who's not going to embarrass him, sort of a seamless rollout. And he also said, someone he's comfortable with. So we can't discount personal connections. He and Tim Pawlenty go back to when they were both elected governor in the same class. They were also, 4 years ago, they were both on Senator McCain's VP shortlist. And Pawlenty thought Romney was going to be chosen. Romney thought Pawlenty was going to be chosen. And when this woman, who at the time no one had really heard of, was chosen, they kind of bonded over that. Rob Portman also has connections to Mitt Romney's staff. Two of his top strategists and admin ran Portman's campaign in the Senate. So there's connections there, too. So, that's not going to be the critical factor, but it could certainly play a role.
And lastly, Ashley, talk about this email that gave us all a little bit of heartburn the last few days. The campaign sent out an email that had a subject line that said simply "My VP," right? And we all sort of freaked out about that.
Yeah, I totally thought Matt Rhodes, who rarely emails me, was sort of giving me the scoop. As it turned out, he was just trying to raise money. But these emails, the campaign is sort of building suspense, and so they sent out this fundraising email where people who donate money, every week a different person is going to be chosen to meet the eventual VP. But anytime, in this phase of the campaign, you see that drop into your inbox, your heart sort of stops for a second.
I can tell you I was at a dinner with a bunch of reporters, and we all looked down at our phones right at the same time, and we all, our hearts skipped a beat. But it turned out not to be the answer that we all were looking for. Thanks, Ashley.
Exactly. Thank you.
Up next, a look inside how we cover the vice presidential selection process. How do reporters pry the name out of their sources? And how do they fend off their anxious editors? National political correspondent Jim Rutenberg and assistant managing editor Rick Burke go at it.
Are you going to break that story?
We're trying, but we're really trying hard.
No, but seriously, day after day you see, one day it's Condi Rice, one day it's someone else, it's the next day this person. How do you know what to take seriously?
That's the hardest part, is knowing what to take seriously. These campaigns have perfected the art of confusion when it comes to the vice presidential decision. So let's look at Monday. Eric Bernstrom, very close to the governor, one of his senior aides, in the morning he said it will not come this week, or not likely. Just a couple of hours later, he turned around and said, actually, it could happen this week. That's one person, two different sets of facts.
Usually no one breaks it until like hours before, right?
Or like Sarah Palin 4 years ago, nobody broke that, nobody saw it coming. 4 years prior, people broke the story. It just only happened to have been the wrong story for Kerry when it was reported initially that Dick Gephardt was going to be his vice presidential pick. The campaign, it seems, floated this idea that maybe it could be Condoleezza Rice. We find it right now on the surface improbable, and I do think that there would be a floor fight in the convention.
But don't journalists love floor fights?
So that's what I'm saying. So that would
I mean, when was there a real last floor fight?
We thought there was going to be one this year, but there hasn't been one since.
I can't remember. I have to scratch my head.
80 was on the Democratic side, right, with Kennedy.
You were still in grade school then.
Yes, I was.
Yeah. Anyway, so can I tell you my New York Times vice presidential nightmare scenario?
Yes, I'm eager to hear it.
Picture this. I'm at the Republican convention in 1996, and I think I have a scoop that Bob Dole is going to be picking Jack Kemp. Then right after the first edition, I got a call from a good source in the Dole campaign who said, probably going to happen, but it's now 80%. Well, I pulled the plug.
Whoa.
And we ripped up the front page.
Better safe than sorry.
But now that I look back, he ended up getting it anyway.
Right. But that is why our editors, in all of their wisdom, always tell us, when in doubt, leave it out. Pull back. So that was obviously the choice you had to make. But the last couple of campaigns, if you think about it, the key campaigns did have control of their news. Right? Palin, as we already said, was a complete surprise, right? John Edwards was a surprise. Interestingly enough, John Edwards had leaked on an obscure aviation blog where some airplane hangar workers blogged that they saw the sign going up on the airplane, but nobody noticed that.
This vice presidential choice is such a closely guarded secret. For all you or I know, Mitt Romney has not told his wife. He probably has, but he might not have. It's only in his head. He might not have even told his key advisors because he wants to keep it a secret. So if it's in one man's head, how do you break the story?
You're not going to get it from the press office, truth be told. So you have to kind of triangulate the story. So you have to be creative. That's where the fun of being a reporter comes in.
Jim, thank you for filling us in. May you break the story. May the New York Times break the story. There's a big bonus for you if you do.
What is that bonus?
You'll see. Break the story and you'll see.
Is it a free lunch here?
No, I think it's journalistic pride. It's your journalistic pride.
That would be gift enough.
I think so.
There's a lot we don't know about Romney's VP decision, but one thing that's fairly certain is that Christie is all but out of the running. New Jersey correspondent Kate Zernike reports on his fall from the shortlist and what might be next for the governor.
I kind of find it hard to believe that somebody would look at me and go, yeah, that's the guy I want standing behind me nodding my head for the next 8 years,
Governor Chris Christie of New Jersey isn't officially running for anything right now, but he still holds campaign-style town hall meetings almost every week. The governor's routine is well worn.
If you give it, you are getting it right back.
He was once considered a strong vice presidential pick for Mitt Romney.
He's a man who has a following of a lot of folks across this country. And so when he indicated a willingness to join my team, I could not have been more pleased and more happy.
Prominent donors considered him someone who could add authenticity and excitement to the ticket. But Mr. Christie's prospects seem to have faded as the selection process comes to a close. For all his discipline in promoting his own message, it's not clear Mr. Christie has the same determination when promoting someone else's.
I'm endorsing Mitt Romney for President of the United States.
He had been a prominent Romney surrogate early in the campaign, but their styles are very different. More recently, he's all but disappeared from the campaign trail. And occasionally when he has appeared, he's strayed from the Romney line.
I've released all of my tax returns, and I think that's the right way to go, and that's what I would tell Governor Romney to do.
He's also deeply unpredictable. The celebrity website TMZ caught him in this confrontation with an average citizen on the Jersey Shore in not the most vice presidential manner.
Keep walking! Keep walking!
Mr. Christie has made it clear that a vice presidential snub will not end his national ambitions. He's still one of the most popular Republicans in the country, and he's an internet star with more than 5 million YouTube hits. And before the Brookings Institution in Washington last week, he seemed to be promoting himself for the top of the ticket down the road, emphasizing his executive experience and his ability to get things done in a bipartisan manner.
You can't lead by being a mystery. You can't lead by being an enigma. You can't lead by being aloof. You can't lead by being programmed.
Notably, Mr. Romney's name never came up.
When it comes, the VP announcement may provide a welcome distraction from the current rhetoric. I'm joined now by Jeremy Peters to talk about an ad war that has gotten very intense and very personal between the two presidential candidates. So, Jeremy, the Obama approach has really been to kind of methodically lay out his case against Mitt Romney in these ads. Talk a little bit about that, how he's gone about doing that.
Well, I think what you're seeing here is the Obama campaign as a storyteller. And in 2008, this is part of what made him such an effective candidate. They were able to take this unknown quantity and craft a narrative around him that introduced him to people. What's different now is because all of America knows just who Barack Obama is, they're creating a narrative about Mitt Romney, who is a much more undefined candidate. And the narrative that the Obama campaign has crafted rather successfully is that Romney is somebody who wants America to play by two different sets of rules. One for the privileged class, of which Romney belongs, and another for everybody else.
It's interesting. I mean, they've done that using a series of ads, a lot of money, right? $100 million or so
right,
over the course of the summer. And they've gone from what? From Swiss bank accounts through these other things. Right. Talk a little bit about the various steps that the pieces that they put into place.
Right. Well, the first piece was an attempt to remind voters about how bad things were when Barack Obama took over. That as much as they may hear from the right about how Obama has done a bad job leading the economy, things were actually much worse and they've become incrementally better. Unfortunately, that's not a very strong message to run on, so quickly after that message came out, you saw the Swiss bank accounts ad.
Right.
And that is again playing to this theme of Romney believes in two sets of rules. Then you saw the Bain outsourcing ads. Here is a guy who made his fortune off of taking food out of the mouths of people who really need it. And then now we're getting back to this notion that there are two sets of rules.
Right. With the will he release his tax returns?
Yes.
And what did he do at Bain?
What is he hiding now has become, he has lived by these two sets of rules and he doesn't want you to see that.
Let's take a look at the latest ad from President Obama on the tax return question.
Mitt Romney has used every trick in the book. Romney admits that over the last 2 years, he's paid less than 15% in taxes on $43 million in income. Makes you wonder if some years he paid any taxes at all. We don't know because Romney has released just one full year of his tax returns and won't release anything before 2010.
You know what? I put out as much as we're going to put out.
What is Mitt Romney hiding?
So the Obama ad ends. What is Mitt Romney hiding? What the Romney response has been what? How has he responded to that kind of those kinds of attacks?
By calling the president a liar. I mean, it's really that simple. I mean, what they started out with was Obama isn't working. That was the Romney slogan, and that meant to suggest that the economy was broken, and Barack Obama has not only been unable to fix it, he's made it worse. Now what you're seeing is an attack on the president's character. Some of the crony capitalism claims that we've been hearing from not just Romney, but from other Republicans too, that the president's policies have benefited his political contributors. And now, not only is he a corrupt politician, but he's a liar. He's misleading you about what Romney has done.
Right, and so the latest video that the Romney campaign put out was this idea that the president has been enriching all of his friends and donors, sending contracts and loan guarantees to those friends. But interestingly, that response and the prior ones have been not in paid ads that are running on television networks, but they're web videos. Why is that?
Well, I think it has to do with the fact that the Romney campaign doesn't have a whole lot of money to spend on ads right now, right? I mean, they spent a ton of money in the primaries. The money that we've been hearing about that they've been raising in prolific amounts is not spendable until the general election begins, which is after the convention. So right now they have a thin budget with which to work.
Right, and ironically, the web videos that they've had up there, however small their reach, because they're not on television, this last one even, there was a funny thing that they used a clip of the president singing an Al Green song and got a copyright violation, and so that video has been taken down now.
Pulled off,
so,
yes,
so
exactly.
even, however few people were watching it, even fewer are watching it now. Thanks,
That's right.
Jeremy.
Thank you.
Before we go, a report from McKay Coppins of BuzzFeed.com, who spent the weekend in upstate New York talking with some of the thousands of Mormons gathered for the annual depiction of the Book of Mormon.
Every year, thousands of Mormons come to this upstate New York town to tell the story of the Book of Mormon.
750 cast members who really have no artistic talent in most cases. This is the original Book of Mormon musical.
This is McKay Coppins from BuzzFeed reporting for the New York Times. I'm a political reporter for BuzzFeed. I've been covering the Mitt Romney campaign. A lot of what I focused on is the religious aspect. I grew up as a young Mormon coming to this pageant with my family, like many Mormon families throughout the country. This year I decided to come and see how my faith is handling its moment in the spotlight.
Yeah, we dance all up on the stage. It's such a fun part.
The church works hard to keep politics out of the pageant. You won't see people handing out Romney bumper stickers or Mitt Romney memorabilia or campaigning for their fellow Mormon. Many Mormons I talk to say they wish the candidate was more open about the faith to which he's drawn so much national attention. But others say that's not really his job.
We already have ambassadors out there for the church. That Mitt Romney doesn't necessarily need to be one, just needs to hold true to his beliefs, but that's pretty much what I expect from him.
It would be nice to have him kind of more out there so people would understand more about the church and stuff like that.
The Mormons here say Romney's candidacy has given them opportunities to share their faith with neighbors and curious political observers.
As someone in college, I have a lot more of my friends asking me questions about the church just because Romney is going for president, and they're more curious now than they ever were before.
I think Mormons typically are thought of as perhaps living strangely.
We're enjoying the fact that we're in the news a little bit more. And we're not this cult that's kept to the side that everybody believes that we are mainstream and we're normal people.
So often we're not seen as Christians. So I hope that if they take nothing else from it, it's just that we believe in Christ.
People are watching. It's closer now that he's running for office. We represent the church, and pretty much we're representing Romney now.
With the election placing Mormonism prominently in the national conversation, Mormons say they're grateful for this 1 week to come together and tell their own story.
And that's all for today. Stay with us online for more on Campaign 2012. I'm Michael Shear. Thanks for watching.